Arizona Cardinals legend Patrick Peterson finally speaks out on the situation between him and Kyler Murray. Let's dive into exactly what he said and what can come out of this. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. And we're on the road to 17K. So cannot do it without you guys. Hit that red button. Absolutely for free. But ladies and gentlemen, we ended up hearing something earlier this morning from the Up and Adams show by Kay Adams. A really good podcast that she's got going on. She speaks to multiple different athletes. And of course, this one specifically has to do with the Arizona Cardinals and obviously surrounding Patrick Peterson, a now retired Arizona Cardinal and a current quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals in Kyler Murray. A couple years back in December of 2022, they ended up having some sort of scuffle, some sort of beef with each other where Patrick Peterson ended up coming out on his podcast saying that Kyler Murray only cares about Kyler Murray, right? And that kind of sparked a controversy, a beef amongst them two. And Kyler Murray came out and said, if you had any issue with me, you could have texted me. And it all kind of blew up. And it almost kind of felt like Cardinal fans had to pick some sort of side. Now, to me, I kind of played Switzerland. I was always a big fan of Patrick Peterson. I get the sense of it all where frustration kind of came to a point. Right now, Patrick Peterson does say in this video that we will be watching here pretty soon that he might have stepped out of line, and if he had any issue, he should have came to him directly. But let's go and dive right into exactly what Patrick Peterson has said just recently, earlier this morning on the Up and Adams show, which is going to be Kay Adams' show. And let's go and dive right into exactly what he said, and then we'll react to it together.
Chemistry with Marvin Harrison Jr. I recently read he's being sort of outspoken about what he wants to do. You've been outspoken. You've just been honest. You've been a good OG veteran and been honest about what you've thought about Kyler Murray. Is there a relationship there? What's the relationship like?
Yeah, there's no relationship there, but there will be. I know that I was a little bit outspoken when I did say certain things, and I was kind of in the wrong. But at the end of the day, I know I'm a man, he's a man, and I definitely want to make, that better. Because at the end of the day, that was just talked out of frustration. That could have been something that me and him could have been able to, talk about. And, he'll tell you, I left a note in his locker room when I left. You know what I mean? Just telling him, just telling him how the team is going to be as successful as he leads them to. And I just saw some things from afar that I seen in the locker room, and that's just where that came from. But he has been doing a much better job of his body language, his leadership, and it's just going to continue to make that team that much better because they follow his every move, and he just has to understand that.
So you see a bit of a different Kyler now than you saw a few years
100%.
ago.
So as you can tell there, ladies and gentlemen, we got Patrick Peterson coming out here on the Up and Adams show, talking all things, obviously Arizona Cardinals, but the very big clip that most Cardinal fans are really kind of focusing on in the specific section is this 1 minute and like 20-second clip where obviously there's a big divide amongst Cardinal fans. And it's kind of sad because Patrick Peterson, what he's provided this Arizona Cardinals fan base, and if you've been a Cardinals fan since the early 2000s, then you probably don't have any issue with Patrick Peterson. It might be the newer Cardinal fans that kind of came when Kyler Murray kind of came about, so they felt like they had to pick a side. But, it's sad to see people saying, well, Patrick Peterson had all these bad things to say about, the Arizona Cardinals organization. He never really once said anything about the fan base or anything like that. His issue was with Steve Keim. Now, he did come out and say that Kyler Murray only cares about Kyler Murray. And in this specific clip, obviously, he mentions the fact that they don't really have a relationship with each other right now. Kyler Murray and Larry Fitzgerald, it seemed like they had a cordial, very good civil relationship when they were playing on the same team. And now whenever Larry Fitzgerald is asked about Kyler Murray, he says nothing but glowing remarks, right? Nothing but positivity amongst the air. But obviously Patrick Peterson, amongst, frustration, took a different approach in 2022. Now he is coming out right now, 3 years later, or less than 3 years later, talking about, he does want to have some sort of relationship, or at least a civil relationship, because in this video he does mention that he wants to at least at one point come together as men, right? And he does admit fault that he probably shouldn't have come out of frustration and say what he said, right? But he was, on a podcast. It was his podcast, and I'm not exactly sure how it came about. Was he looking for anything, a reaction? We don't 100% know, right? But at the end of the day, this seems to be the first step as to maybe we can finally see Patrick Peterson and Kyler Murray have a relationship amends. Now, they don't have to, right? At the end of the day, Kyler Murray's living his life. Patrick Peterson's living his life. He's retired now. He's doing his thing. He seems very, very happy, and so does Kyler Murray, right? Now, so at the end of the day, I think I can't really speak for the fan base, but what I would love to see is them amend some sort of relationship, specifically for the fans that really are not really on the Patrick Peterson retiring as a Cardinals situation. And I don't know why I'm taking it too offensive, because I think Patrick Peterson has provided nothing but great things when he was on the field, and probably one of the best first round picks in the 2010s that we have ever gotten. And it's just absolutely amazing what he provided to the Cardinals fan base and the Cardinals organization. So now that we're starting to kind of see him make that bridge, or at least extending the hand, saying, hey man, let's come together as men, and let's shake on it. So he has admitted fault, and I think at the end of the day, this is really, really big of Patrick Peterson. Now, I'm not sure if he knew this question was going to come about, but he answered this pretty darn flawlessly, right? And he also did mention that he actually left a note. I believe it was the year that he left, or the last year probably, he left, and he left a note in Kyler Murray's locker room. He said, pretty much saying that the team is going to run through Kyler Murray, right? And let's call it like it is, right? One of the biggest knocks that we had on Kyler Murray was the fact that, we called him Grumpy Cat for the past, prior years. Now, I honestly could say that Kyler Murray's completely improved, right? Like in terms of his body language, is gotten night and day better. Now, is there a couple different times here, like especially in that Panthers game where he looked absolutely distraught and you saw Drew Petzing had to go over there and console him? Yeah, but it's different though, right? Obviously, he's really upset that we weren't able to beat the Panthers, and that really was the knife in the back for the Cardinals' playoff chances after losing to the Panthers in 2024. But it definitely feels like the Arizona Cardinals right now are in a really good state with Kyler Murray's, I guess, outlook on life and his maturity has completely grown. I got to give kudos to Jonathan Gannon, man. He's come out here and absolutely put this whole locker room in a line. And since Gannon has been here, Murray's been nothing but great, man. Great in terms of maturity levels at an all-time high. So, and then Patrick Peterson does come out and actually talk about the difference of what he experienced in the locker room with Kyler Murray as QB1 compared to now, right? At least what he's seen from the outside, right? He definitely seems like he feels like Kyler Murray is absolutely matured 100%. He says 100%. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts here on Patrick Peterson coming out and saying, he's trying to at least amend some sort of relationship? They don't need to be best friends, but at least have some sort of cordial, right, civil relationship with each other in case something happens where Patrick Peterson does come to games, so we can see him dap up with each other, right? Something like that, right? I think that's kind of what I'm looking for here at the end of the day. But ladies and gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts here on this clip? Do you forgive Patrick Peterson, especially if you're one of those guys that didn't really like him after this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day, and go Cardinals.